Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, you want to treat this this post game like Durant and Booker? You could talk the whole first half, and I'll talk the whole second half.
You know, you're talking way more than that.
That's true. Listen, I don't care that it was the Raptors and the Bulls, because psychos and sickos unite, because for the first time since January 27th, your Phoenix Suns won back-to-back games, and for the first time since early February, they have risen back into the play-in. Welcome in to PHNX Suns. I'm Eric, that's Steven, Noah behind the Mac, making all the magic happen. We are getting down on the sexy sacks tonight, because KD passed the baton after the second half, Book dropped 40. It was a fun win. Let's celebrate. You know, every time I actually put my mouth to this thing, I immediately remember that Espo probably did the same thing, and it makes me so upset. But welcome in the PHNX Suns post-game show, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365 when you sign up, and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Steven, I know you're a conflicted guy, Mr. Chicago Bulls over here, but the Suns took down Chicago 127-121, and the first question I want to ask you is, should people freak out about the fourth quarter?
No, I wouldn't freak out about it. The Bulls did not give up. They continue to put up threes like we spoke to in pregame. Whether they shoot 25% or 45%, they're going to put up attempts. And naturally, you get in a situation where the Suns take their foot off the gas even the slightest bit. The Bulls get a couple of bounces to fall in their favor, knock down a couple threes, and then all of a sudden a game that was about 17 or 18 points becomes far too close for comfort and really kind of gets on the verge of potential disaster mode. But I wouldn't overreact to that.
Not only is it a lot easier for teams to come back in the three-point era, and yes, the Suns did some things as far as the turnovers that changed up from that first half that helped Chicago get back into it, but you heard K-Ray say it on the broadcast. The Bulls have the most fourth quarter comebacks in the NBA so far, and if you checked out our pregame show, you would know that Chicago's been playing really good basketball as of late. Now, they're not a good team, as other Bulls fans in the chat will tell you, Steven, but they've been playing good as of late, and they presented some problems for the Suns. Overall, I am satisfied with this win.
That's why I was prefacing in pregame, just get the dub. No need to worry about blowing out teams. You're not in a position to be looking at yourself as if you're superior to anybody else, because you are what your record are. Where your record is, you are where you are in the standings. So I think they came into this one with the right type of approach, and albeit a little bit of slippage at the end of the game, they still got the win at the end. On to the next one. Big one coming up with Cleveland here in Phoenix on Friday.
Let's not get there yet. We still got a lot to talk about. I get what you're saying.
Though,
yeah, you can't be satisfied with this. You've heard them say so many times they put themselves in this position, but you couldn't afford to lose either of these two games. You could not lose to the Raptors. You could not lose to the Bulls, because we'll take a look at the record coming up later in the show. We'll take a look at them being in the 10th seed and kind of what lies ahead. But let's talk about what happened tonight. I think there is one clear-cut place to start with this game, and let's just give out an award. It's time for our big, bright, shining star, presented by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you. At Gila River Resorts and Casinos, visit playatgila.com for more details.
I'm a big, bright, shining star.
Devin, Armani, Booker.
Facts.
Took over in the second half, started to see the ball go through the basket, and at that point, it started to get larger and larger. I guess the basket started looking like the ocean, and everything that he was throwing up was going in. Even the bailout shot that he knocked down prior to Ryan Dunn's that took place in that fourth quarter.
14 of 26, 6 of 12 from 3, 6 of 12 from 3 for 41 points and a nice 7 assists to go along with it as well. Espo would deem it hashtag Armani mode, and it felt so good to see him. And we are going to give Kevin Durant a ton of love because he helped really stamp this game at the beginning. He came out firing, but it was nice that coming off of a game where both Booker and Durant played under 40 minutes, were not asked to carry this massive offensive load, that you saw them both come out with this energy about them. And Devin Booker in the second half, I feel like, Steven, it's not a coincidence that we're seeing Book scoring 41 points and feeling natural when he's surrounded by players that are focused on defense, focused on rebounding, focused on doing those little things, and he can just get in his bag and cook.
It's that for sure. And I think the other big thing with him on offense, at least today, was also the playmaking blending with the passing. Couple of buckets here, and then he ends up getting into a drive. All of the attention that's coming because he's been putting the ball in the basket allows for him to facilitate to others in a secondary fashion or a direct assist. And he just had those type of sequences cycling, possession after possession in the second half. And I think the big thing for him, especially looking at the efficiency that he saw to end the game, compared to where he was at halftime, there's a certain, like, people think about scorers, and there's a mental side that you have to be a great one, because you're not always going to have the most efficient nights. But will you still continue to trust your shots and take the shots that are true to you? And that's exactly what he did. Came out in the second half, missed his first couple of shots, and then saw one go in, and then after that, confident shot after confident shot, and then playing both hats with the assists and the points.
I mean, that's just what he's been doing. This has been the best playmaking season of Devin Booker's career, but it hasn't been the best scoring season. It's nice to be reminded that he can do this. And we know that he can do this. We know that he's a special breed, but something just felt off with this team. The fit felt off, and it just didn't seem like, oh, he can get in there naturally. But I think maybe my favorite number, if you look at Devin Booker's stat line for tonight, 36 minutes. You didn't need him to play 40-plus minutes and squeak past the Bulls. And I get that final score is 127 to 121. But Katie said it post-game, Steven. They were in control of this game for a majority of it. And when you have that, your stars can play under 40 minutes, have high-scoring performances, but then other guys that we'll talk about, the Cody Martins, the Ryan Dunns, the Nick Richards of the world, when they're able to step up off of your stars being stars, this is the formula that was laid out for this team and why we thought they were going to be so much better than where they are right now. And it's starting to slowly take shape, in my opinion, not so coincidentally, when Bradley Beal is not on the court.
I still have no comment on that latter part.
Okay.
That remains to be seen. It's TBD. I still don't think they get to where they want to be without him, but they are putting together wins without him in the short term, no different than they did at earlier points in this season. So there is a trend starting to develop, but we'll see if they get to where they want to be, if they need him or if they don't, and if they actually do have him. That's another relevant part with that. But independent of the Beal side, because they didn't necessarily need him in this game in particular, I think for me with KD, it's seeing him be able to step up. Like you were asking about, am I worried about him in pregame? I didn't say, not thinking that you were either, but just a general question, and I was emphatically saying no. And the way he wore his scoring and playmaking hat in the first half, and the way in which he kind of took the offense on his shoulder in the half court in particular, and was playmaking but also scoring, and then allowing for that to then play into what Devin Booker did in the second half. This felt like one of their more connected scoring tandem type of games in quite some time. And it's the fact that they both weren't just scoring, because KD had 8 assists.
Yeah.
Devin Booker had 7 assists. KD only had 1 turnover. Devin Booker had 4, but with the attention that he garners and the team only having 11, that 4 doesn't hit nearly the same as some of his 4 turnover outings that he had earlier in the season. So they're getting there. It's a slow process, but the caveat with everything continues to be how often they play off of stops.
Yeah, and we'll get to that defense in a second. I want to get into Kevin Durant because I think Kevin Durant deserves his flowers. A very impactful 26 points tonight.
Yep.
A very impactful 8 assists. Played good defense as well. Didn't need to take a ton of shots as Kevin Durant usually doesn't have to. Shot over 50% from the field, almost 50% from deep. This guy is going to be a bucket until he is 55 years old. It just will not change. And it's so nice to see those two, like you mentioned, play off of each other, play with each other, and then the whole team fall in line after that. It's why I'm walking away from this game and not really focusing as much on the fourth quarter because there are so many positives that we can get into beyond the stars. The chat is going off about how amazing Cody Martin was. We could talk about Cody Martin, right? We could talk about Colin Gillespie, who also had 7 assists tonight and was double digits in the plus minus in this game. I think we have a lot of people who could be the PHNX factor. So let's just continue to give out awards.
X gon' give it to you.
Nick Richards and Ryan Dunn.
Love it.
I dubbed him a blue collar boy upon the trade with Nick Richards. And naturally, Ryan Dunn was dubbed the blue collar boy before the season started. A lot of love for the blue collar boys the last couple of games. And there should be no surprise that when those players are getting more minutes and the pieces around them are playing better as well, we're starting to see them rise to that X factor kind of bar in the space that they operate in amongst the rest of the team. Don't feel like this is a process that they can't repeat on a game-by-game basis amongst that group of players. Royce O'Neale, Cody Martin, Ryan Dunn, Osu Iguodala, Nick Richards. All of these players have an impact that can't necessarily be replicated. And when they bring it all together, even if it's just 2 or 3 of those 4 or 5 names that I mentioned, they can have the impact that we saw tonight. Nick Richards and all of the offensive rebounds that he just continued to just pull in addition to the dunks, in addition to the block shots, he was just getting the job done. And then, you got the
jelly fam.
The Dr. J scoops.
I mean, what got into Nick Richards?
What Gerald called it.
Dr. J, jelly fam, Kyrie Irving. These are all things I saw on the timeline talking about Nick Richards, man.
He was getting it done, and he helped to set a tone to start the game on the boards in particular. And that's something that the Suns, again, they can't win games if they're not checking off these boxes on the margins. He did his job and then some tonight. And then, obviously, with Ryan Dunn, what can we say that hasn't already been lamented by us in particular on this panel?
He's awesome. Again, it's so funny because I also see the sentiment of everybody's like, does anybody else get a little bit mad when Ryan Dunn does something good? Because you just talk to yourself about, oh man, he got buried, but he's back up now and he's proving his stay. Now, when Grayson Allen comes back, when Bradley Beal comes back, I don't think it's a conversation. Ryan Dunn needs to stay in the starting lineup. Ryan Dunn needs to play starting lineup minutes. He played 30 minutes tonight. That's about what I want to see out of him. But I do want to give the love to Nick Richards as well. Almost a double-double, 18 and 9 tonight. And we went into tonight's game, at least I mentioned, one of the things I was keeping an eye on was how he matched up with Nikola Vucevic, who is not one of the top 10 centers in the NBA, but is not one of the bottom 5 centers in the NBA. And Nick usually struggles around those guys that are not on the lower tier of the starting end. He held his own defensively. He held his own offensively. I'm loving that midi that he's been pulling out consistently. If that's something in his game that you can rely on consistently, I'm a big fan of what you see out of Nick Richards, especially going into next season, whether he's starting, whether he's off the bench. He's proven that he can play off of your stars. He could play off of your role players. He's not the best center in the world, Steven, but he's doing pretty damn good.
Yeah, and again, for the bar that was set that was low prior to him coming into the Suns context, he's been exceeding that. And that's all you can ask for. Anything else that he does in addition to being above that bar is just a cherry on top. And he's started to play in ways in which you can build around. They're using him a little bit above the break in terms of on offense to play off of handoffs and then get into roles and things like that. And then defensively, he's been up to the level a lot more consistently than he had been prior to these last 2 or 3 games in this little window of time. And that's a big reason why the defense has been good as well. He's been solid playing in space and then getting back and keeping his presence felt on the glass. Teams are feeling him in terms of rebounding margin. And I think that impact there, in addition to everything else that he's starting to get into offensively, is really something that you can build around. Like you said, whether he's starting next season or he's in a reserve role. I feel like if they can get him in a reserve role and get someone else, we'll really start to see the type of impact he can have in a winning type of situation or scenario.
Yeah, and hopefully the wins will continue to roll in. Now, of course, we say you took care of business these last 2 games like you needed to. Now you face an onslaught of great teams, starting with the Cavs. Of course, we'll get to that later in the show. We still have By the Numbers, all of your super chats. Gerald's going to call in from PHNX Arena. And I know there was a lot of options for PHNX-Factor. Did we get it wrong? Did we get it right? Let us know who you would pick. Light goal is 200 today, and we're going to keep on rolling for you psychos and sickos right after our first break. Carol Royse is going to keep it real with you, no matter what. Even if it doesn't make Carol Royse money, even if it's not the best in her business plan right now, because Carol Royse is invested in you. She's invested in the person, in the family, in your house. She told us when she came into our office last week that she had a lovely couple sit down with her and say, we are looking to sell our home. She looked over the numbers, she looked at the financials, she looked at where the home was, and she looked them dead in the eye and said, no, I'm not selling your home. Hold on to this and you'll thank me later. And they did. They went back to Carol about 1.5 years later and said it was the best decision they ever made in their entire life. And when they went back to Carol, Carol said, well, if you would like me to sell your home, I'm going to give you a guarantee like she does for all of her clients. You can sell your home for 100% of the market value or she'll pay you the difference. Write down this number right now, even if you're not looking to buy or sell a home immediately. 480-776-5231. Again, 480-776-5231 or visit Carol online at carolroyseteam.com and tell them PHNX sent you. That's carolroyseteam.com. Just talk to her. She wants to talk to you and help you find the right home. But when you go to meet Carol, don't stink. Wear Mando. Okay, statistically speaking, I know that this kind of rubs the chat the wrong way, but somebody listening or watching one of the psychos and sickos, y'all might need to freshen up a little bit. Maybe you have a nice date. Maybe you started a new job. Maybe you have an interview. Maybe you're going to see Carol Royse. Well, you can get a whole body deodorant that goes in your pits, balls, thighs, belly buttons, butt cracks, and feet, literally everywhere. And Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. And you get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. Use code PHNX at shopmando.com for over 40% off your starter pack, shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Thank you all, psychos and sickos, Chris, Sandman, Omar, hello, Ryan, Optical Illusion, AJ, Jeaner, everybody who is hanging out in the chat with us. What's up, Amelia? What's up, Kara? What's up, Optical? What's up, Tay-Tay? So many awesome names, awesome people in the chat. Hit that like button. Like goal is 200. Steven, we've talked the big, bright, shining star. We've talked the X Factor. Who else earned some flowers from the Phoenix Suns tonight in their win over the Chicago Bulls?
Mike Budenholzer.
Wow. Look at that.
You see something, you find a formula, instead of deviating from it for whatever reason, stick with what you see to work for you, and you see the results that they're starting to get. You see the consistency breeding some continuity for them on both sides of the ball. Offense playing with a certain type of connectedness that we haven't necessarily seen them sustain in quite some time, even though the offense hasn't been the issue. And then defensively, more than anything, speaks for itself. Again, the timely stop pockets, compiling those kills that I continue to preach about, being able to play off of the defense with your offense. That's not a layer of their process they've been able to play to nearly as much as we kind of expected for them to be able to. But it's starting to resurface at a very timely point in the season. And again, if they plan on winning even 500 or 50% of the games down the stretch with the strength of schedule left, they're going to have to be able to play off of stops.
So I have a question for you, because I agree for tonight's game and the last couple of games specifically. Yep. And I will be the first one to where if what I'm about to ask does not come true, I will give Mike Budenholzer credit, and he's gotten credit for these last couple of games. Mm-hmm. Is it because Mike Budenholzer is making these active decisions, or have injuries forced his hand into making the right decisions? I don't think that I can give him credit for doing this until he gets some of those options that he was favoring before back and continues to make the right decisions he's been making as of late.
I can't even be mad at that, honestly, but it's just the fact that when you haven't seen a specific behavior or a specific decision or two being made, and then you finally start to see that decision actually being made and the results align directly with that shift, even if it is coming because he hasn't had certain players at his disposal or at his to use over the course of a game, it's still happening. And that's why, even though I am saying that he's someone that should be getting some extra attention and giving a salute because of his decision making tonight, it's still TBD because when Beal is back, and then obviously even more so when Grayson is back, there's going to be some tough decisions that need to be made. Who's going to stay in the lineup? Who's not going to make it? What's going to be the residual impact from whatever decisions that are made with the rotations from there?
Yeah, I am always straight up with people. I have been high on Beal. I've been low on Beal. I have ripped Mike Budenholzer to shreds. If he makes the right decisions when these guys come back and it orchestrates a playoff run, a play-in run, or they just look better, I'll still be mad about the middle part of the season. I don't know if it's going to change my overall opinion on him, but I'll stand here and I'll tell you that he deserves his flowers. And for tonight, I think you're right. I think a player that deserves their flowers, that Suns Twitters, they're licking their lips about some Cody Martin, man. He has been solid.
No victory lapping, but I tried to say,
let him know. Flex on him, SPG. Come on.
I'm only bringing it up because there was so many people saying that, oh, he's just a throw-in in this trade. He's not going to matter. He won't never get actual minutes in the rotation. He's not good. He can't shoot. What about the values that he does bring, though? The defense, the multiple efforts, the 50-50 balls that he always wins.
The things this team desperately needs.
Exactly. The cuts. Like, all of these efforts from the margins, it can't all come from specifically one of Royce O'Neale and Ryan Dunn on a nightly basis. It needs to be a collective effort from a specific faction of the Suns roster for it to hit the way that they need to on the margins. We saw that tonight. That's why we have so many players that were eligible for X-Factor. And there was a legitimate argument for so many of those. Cody Martin being one of the best pieces in tonight's game. Takes a charge, couple deflections, couple
had a
steals.
block 10 seconds into playing the game.
Come on, man. Like, and this is 4 games in a row or 3 games in a row now that he's done this in particular. He's just getting the job done. You can't get to where they want to be without having multiple players that can guard at the point of attack in particular, though. And that's where I want to shine light with him. Because for as good as Ryan Dunn is, he can't be his best self if there's not someone else that he can viably rely on to kind of alternate with them and taking those tough assignments on the perimeter. There's going to be moments in these next handful of games where Ryan might get in foul trouble. Ryan can't end up being his best self at the end of the game once the foul trouble isn't as much of an issue late in the game if Cody can't come in and be a stopgap in a sense and take on those matchups that Royce can't be viable in taking on now. That's why point of attack defenders are the biggest dogs on the court for me. That job is nearly impossible. You're guarding the best, most shifty, most dynamic, whistle-inducing type of players on a nightly basis. You need to have a team effort in that, and Cody Martin, the newest member of the Blue Collar Boys, does just that.
We have knighted thee. I think a big example of that is you look to that Lakers loss on Sunday, and Ryan Dunn gets in some foul trouble because it's Luka, and that's just the way it is. And Dunn has had some problems with that at certain points throughout the season. But he's a rookie.
Again, it's also not even just a rookie as a point of attack defender.
That happens.
Nearly impossible.
Especially when you're going up against a top 5, top 3, sometimes on any given night, top 1 player in the NBA. But when he checked out, Luka did not have a field goal. Immediately he hits one. I'm wondering if you were able to throw Cody Martin in there. I'm not saying the result of that game changes. I'm not saying Luka doesn't eat, right? Because it's hard to just make that assumption, but it's harder. And this team, like you mentioned, and we've mentioned throughout all the dark days that we are still kind of going through right now, the margins are where they suffered. And so to get a guy like Cody Martin with the 3 steals and the block tonight, like, you don't need a ton of points from him. But he still shot 3 of 6 from the field. I think some more flowers to give to individually. Royce O'Neale, only 5 points tonight, 5 assists, 10 rebounds.
10 of them boards.
And that's the thing is, Royce earlier in his career, like the Utah days, was much more fit to be that dog point of attack defender, throw him out on somebody. And he wasn't like a stalwart, but he was a much better, shiftier, like kind of bouncy defender.
He's better in space.
Exactly. He doesn't fit that role as much anymore, but he's still a smart player. He can still shoot, and he can grab these boards. And I think being able to play alongside dogs like Dunn, Oso, Martin has allowed him a little more leeway to grab those boards, to move out in transition. And that is another one of the things beyond the ripple effect that impacts your stars, that when you have guys like Martin, like Gillespie in the lineup, it affects other role players as well. It is the ripple effect to the max, and I think that he deserved a ton of love tonight for filling in that role specifically. But we mentioned the margins, so let's get to the numbers. It's time to look inside the box for What's in the Box, presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes.
What's in the box?
A whole lot of what we expect to see from the Suns team on a nightly basis. Start from the bottom, work your way to the top. Always talk about them and their turnovers and the turnover points that they concede to their opponents. And you see that margin, they won that plus 13 tonight. Anytime you see that, you're probably seeing a Suns team that either has a close loss or a game that they won by double digits potentially, or just flat out won. And we saw that in tonight's game. In addition to that, the second chance points. The Suns in that margin in particular, in conceding those extra shots on goal and opportunities for their opponents, you see it directly aligns with the field goal attempts at the top of the screen. Mm-hmm. And they won that. They outshot the Bulls, obviously, from the field, and you see from the three-point line as well. You can't get to those points, literally those points, without the efforts of Nick Richards in particular on the offensive boards, and everybody else starting to chip in from the tone that he helped to set in that particular department.
Yeah, when we mentioned the turnovers, I want to give credit to Mike V. Hill, who put this stat out there on social media. So the Suns are 18-10 when they win the turnover battle. And then he follows up as saying they can only win the turnover battle when they have guys who can force turnovers. Yep. But 18-10, man, 28 games, that's a pretty big sample size. The recipe is not that difficult to see.
No, it's not. And again, it's something that I don't think, it might not necessarily be to these extents by double digits on that margin, but I think it's something that they can repeat in some capacity. When you have other blue-collar guys to where Royce is not overextended, and now he can play more to a role where he's at his best, and those players do the same, and now you're starting to see a little bit of a process start to develop for them over these last couple of games.
Almost 400 of you hanging out with us on a Wednesday night after the Suns finally won back-to-back games. Light goal is 200. Y'all, I know we could do better than what we're doing there. It's okay. It's all right, but it's not where we could be. Let's knock out some super chats before we hit our second break here. If you want your chat read on screen, well, any price will do. Like Bees, $2 super chat says, the gaslighting continues. I'll take the W, though. Listen, man, we're going to see what this team is made up going forward, Steven. This is nice and all, but you dug this hole and you have this schedule. It's up to you to get over that hump.
Yep.
Bees with another $2 super chat says, Hornets saved our season, huh? Keep Nick and Cody here. Yeah.
It's definitely what it seems like.
Hornets and the Dallas Mavericks trading and then getting injured.
Relevant too, for sure. Arden Booker Edis with a $4.99 super chat. We appreciate you. He says, I just want to thank you, bud. You've gone 2 games without being called bud.
It's a good one.
And the okay emoji.
Hey, listen. All right. No calling him Mike Budenholzer. That's what we like to see. Teddy with a $1.99 super chat. All of y'all dropping super chats. We appreciate all of you being in here consistently. Says 11-3 this season with KD and Book without PTO. Lord, it is sad that I can say PTO and everybody knows what I mean. You know what? I think we might need to dive into that conversation just a little bit more because I know that you and I disagree on that, and I think it's a very big topic in Suns land, so we're going to keep talking about that. We're going to read more of your super chats. Gerald will be calling in from PHNX Arena, and we're going to do so much more for the Psychos and Sickos after our second break. Espo will be back on the program later this week as I embark on a 24-hour stream for PHNX Sun Devils starting tomorrow at 9 a.m., but Espo's been having side adventures. Well, he's been off on PHNX Suns, running the company, but also having our friends over at All Pro Shade Concepts come through to his place, and he was telling the entire staff here that he was blown away with how simple and smooth and fast the process was to get a roll-down patio shade installed in his backyard. And now, as it starts to get hotter, Steven, brace yourself. I know both of us are wearing long sleeves today. It's going to hit 90 soon, and then it's going to hit 100 and 110. In Espo's backyard, his patio is going to be up to 20 degrees cooler because of his roll-down patio shade. Plus, he had hundreds of designs and colors to choose from to match his home, and you can choose it to match any home, including getting past that pesky HOA. They've been in business for the Valley for 20 years. It's All Pro Shade Concepts. Call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com right now to schedule your free estimate. Plus, we are getting closer to the end of March. With the warmer weather comes almost April, and that also means it's almost the end of truck month. And you can choose from an entire lineup over at Sanderson Ford of Mavericks, Rangers, F-150s, and Super Duties. And if you want more off-road capabilities, check out all the full-size Broncos and Bronco Sports, all marked down for truck month. And not only are there great deals over at Sanderson Ford this month, there are great people every single month. No hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense to the max. They're not just trying to get you in the door to sell you a car and get you out. Listen, sometimes making these big purchases can be so stressful. You want to make sure you're not getting taken advantage of. Somebody's not trying to slide one by you, and now you're paying too much money every month for a car that you shouldn't have gotten. Well, guess what? Sanderson Ford is here to make sure that you're in the right vehicle because they're family owned and operated for 3 generations, and they want to make sure that your family is good with their vehicle. Get a great deal on all sorts of trucks and Broncos for Truck Month. All offers expire on the 31st over at Sanderson Ford. What's up? Hello, that review guy, Omar, Melissa, Tony, Ryan, Erica, your lovely co-host for PHNX Mercury. You guys had an episode today, didn't you?
We did. We talked about a lot of fun things. Make sure y'all go check that out on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm trying to play your role for a second.
There you go. Look at you.
All right.
Yeah, so Steven, this is what we do here. We have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We do live shows.
Oh, yeah?
We have all sorts of different stuff on that YouTube channel.
Okay.
We have a great community of people. We have diehards,
Mhm.
diehard Discord, so if you ever want to learn about it, man, I'd love to talk to you about it.
For sure.
All right, perfect. Well, let's talk about something else. We touched a little bit on the Bradley Beal
Mhm.
side of things. I know that you and I disagree, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm having a hard time seeing the other side fully on this. If I had the magical lever to shut Bradley Beal down, I would just do it. Save his health, save his legs.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the option of Bud playing these lineups that don't include Ryan Dunn, Cody Martin, and just all the guys that we're talking about playing great. They just get bumped down one. And so I want you to convince me, bring me to the other side, why I should be all in on a return for Bradley Beal.
Again, this team can't reach their ceiling without him.
Are we sure about that?
I'm positive about that still. I know things have been very good these last couple of games, but as we've continued to hint at, there's a gauntlet ahead of them. And to think that they can kind of get through that fire without having all of their ducks in a row in terms of health with the players that they need, I don't think that's a wise bet to kind of make. We are very much in dice roll season considering where they are in the standings. And we've seen some dice rolls from Bud that's gotten them to where they are now, being in control of the 10th seed at the moment. But you still can't get to the ceiling that they desire to get to without Bradley Beal.
But I feel, okay, if we're going to go with the ceiling argument, right, and we're going to say they can't hit the peak of the peak, I feel like their floor is higher without Bradley Beal. Personally, from just what I've seen, and I know that you're a numbers guy, and I know that you have a problem with people picking and choosing when they use numbers, but for me, it's like, man, Bradley Beal is being put in a role that's not ideal for him, right? It's not ideal for Bradley Beal to be the main point of attack defender in the starting lineup. It's not ideal for him to have to fit in and do these things that he shouldn't be asked to do. Plus, it's not ideal for him to push his body to the point where he's only playing a half here or there, a half here or there. I'm just at the point, man, where we know that guys are going to be, knock on wood, healthy outside of Bradley Beal. We're seeing enough offense from Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. We're giving other guys like Con Gillespie a chance to grow, and it's showing results against bad teams, but it's still showing results, and it's shown results this whole season, record-wise, statistically, and for me, eye test as well. I've been defending Bradley Beal maybe more than most people for the first 4 or 5 months of this season. I'm just worn out at this point. I just personally don't see it.
I hear you. I'm not defending, I'm not taking sides or anything. I'm just saying that for the team to be where they want to get to in terms of when Devin Booker's getting double teamed, when Kevin Durant's getting double teamed, when teams are scheming to take them out of a play, and you look at the starting lineup that they've been working with, it's Colin Gillespie and Ryan Dunn. They haven't went against a team that can double team and rotate out of that and really kind of neutralize top-end talents to the extent that a Cleveland might be able to, a Boston might be able to, a Oklahoma City might be able to. You can get away with certain things against certain teams, but when you get to these high-stakes teams that are truly playing for something this season, that's going to be kind of when things really show through. You can play off of your stops. That's going to be some of it. But when you get into the half court, that's why this big three construct was so daunting, because they put defenses in can't be right situations. You double team Devin Booker, you got Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal on the backside. That only having one of those two in those scenarios really does a favor to the opponents when you're built like a big three team is.
I feel you, man. I feel you, and I've defended the big three concept a lot. And obviously, Bradley Beal is going to be out for a week from Monday, so we're going to be reevaluated on Monday. And of course, like you mentioned, the Cavs and an onslaught of teams coming up. It's going to be interesting to see when the competition goes up, how these other guys have been playing in his absence, and maybe then I'll come over more to your side, because again, I'm always open to changing my mind like I have about Bradley Beal so many times so far this season, but I never change my mind, Steven, about our lovely people in the chat. Let's keep reading these super chats as we wait for Gerald to call in. Be calm, see clearly. We know who's reading this one.
All right, $2. I just want to rub Booker cake. God bless my baby. Heart emoji.
You just want to knock the next one out too?
Yeah. Steven teasing us with them shorts. So cutesy.
There we go, cutesy legs. Have you noticed that I've restrained myself so far this show and I haven't called you that once?
Cutesy legs.
And there it is from Noah.
There it goes.
You want to change the vibe up and read lovely Maria, who I didn't know was a diehard. Maria, you got to get in that diehard Discord. Okay, we need you in there. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, we got a $4.99 super chat from Maria. Appreciate you always. I don't want to see Dunn and company buried on the bench when Beal and Allen come back. Please don't piss me off, bud. Praying hands.
I mean, if there's a way, and maybe I could be talked more into the Beal stuff. If I know that his minutes are going to be reduced, his role is going to be reduced, right? Especially on the games where he doesn't have it. And the same thing with Grayson Allen, man. I've been a big fan of Grayson Allen and his shooting, and I know that elite shooting is what teams need. But, I mean, there's a conversation about Cody Martin should be taking Grayson Allen's rotation spot, or at least some minutes from him when he comes back from injury. How do you feel about that?
Well, you got to start with Ryan Dunn first. So I think there's going to be some decisions to be made between the Beal and Allen and Dunn and obviously Martin as well. Those minutes, I think there are avenues to it. Naturally, with Tyus playing less minutes, that probably means Collins completely out of the rotation. But decisions are going to have to be made because those two players have to play. There's no way the Suns get to where they want to be without Beal, like I mentioned, but they also don't get there without having some semblance of Martin and Dunn having consistent minutes in the rotation as well.
Yeah, no matter who is available, you need the guys who play defense. You need the wings.
You cannot win in this NBA without having points of attack defenders, plural.
So if I told you it was one or the other, Bud will not play these groups of two. It's either Beal and Grayson or Martin and Dunn.
Well,
you got to pick two.
He's definitely going to err on the Martin and Dunn side. He's going to play more Grayson and Beal.
Would you want that?
Well, I thought you were asking Beal. I would find a way to kind of split that.
No, but I'm saying if let's just say like in this world, Mike Budenholzer only says there are two spots in our rotation, right?
Also, pick two of those four.
So because he said that, and that was the thing coming out of the All-Star break, right? It's a 9-man rotation. When you get in the playoffs, your rotation shortens. Would you rather, for this iteration of this team, have Dunn and Martin or Beal and Grayson? And I know that a middle ground is better, but that's not the scenario that I'm presenting to you.
Yeah, well, again, I'm erring on the side of point of attack defense.
Okay.
My flag has been planted there for years now. Teams continue to try to duck going around not having a point of attack defender and then wonder why their defenses are not where they want it to be, especially when you need a stop. So those two players, because that's the template for the type of players you need more than anything around a Devin Booker and Kevin Durant roster construct.
And I'm not trying to underestimate Grayson Allen, Red Hawk, and I appreciate you always being in here. Like the 3-point shooting that he can bring when he's on, and his percentage has been going up throughout the season after a slow start. He's north of 40s again, so you love to see that out of him coming off of last season. But I agree with you, and I think that the fear and the reason why people want to shut down Beal, the people who are kind of fearing Grayson Allen coming back, is because with Mike Budenholzer, and it's why I was hesitant before when we talked about him, it's kind of felt like one or the other. Even though it shouldn't, that's just kind of been the way that it is. So I'm glad to hear you say that. I agree with you on that. Bees with the $2 super chat says, trade Beal, bench Tyus, start Baby Nash. That's Colin Gillespie. That is all. Love Colin Gillespie. I'm fine with the Baby Nash nickname as long as we all understand that it's a joke. As long as we all understand that, I'm cool with the Baby Nash nickname.
We got a $5 super chat from Daily Rant. We appreciate you. And naturally, Daily Rant says, appreciate what you guys do. Suns up with the Suns emoji.
We appreciate you. You, everybody who's live with us in chat, those who watch on YouTube after the fact, everybody on audio. Steven, I said something on PHNX Sun Devils the other day, like 3 months ago. You know, there are people who don't know what we look like.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah, we appreciate the audio listeners.
Oh, for sure.
I'm very much an audio podcast listener myself. I seldomly watch actual podcasts on YouTube. I typically err on the side of the audio, unless it's like a special type of situation.
I'm with you. We're busy guys. We're always watching some basketball. Maybe put a podcast on in the background, moving around. I'm a big time audio guy, so don't think that we don't care about you, audio listeners. Okay, even though I can get
audio listeners.
Yeah, even though I can get a little loud. Okay, I still care about you. Arthur with a $5 super chat says, Suns are playing better. We're the better team, but got lazy. Good enough to beat the Bulls tonight, but we'll have to be buttoned up to beat the Cavs. Agreed. Can't have these laps that they had at the end of the game against the Bulls, against the Cavs. But they have played up to their competition at certain points this year. So we'll see what they can do against Cleveland on Friday.
For sure. We got a $2 super chat from Bees. Everybody knows Bees. We appreciate you, Bees. Bees, speaking to me specifically, says, Bulls' future looking good. Must be encouraging with the yellow thumbs up. Appreciate you always. I don't know if encouraging is the right word for it. I will say that it's been good to see that the Josh Giddey trade has worked out for them to an extent post All-Star break, knocking down so many of the three-point attempts that he is taking, and the rest of his game has not suffered from that either. He's looking like a complete basketball player. Eddie Johnson said that's a future All-Star. I don't know if he gets to that point, but he definitely has the skill set that suggests it. Kobe White is doing what he's been doing. They have some pieces, obviously Matas, but it's like, what are you going to do in addition to that? Because we've seen them have these pieces that they find, and then we see them make decisions that don't align with that. So it's all about what they do each step of the way going forward.
I mean, don't let me cut you short on your Chicago Bulls, Steven. I think we got to put the picture up. You got to put the picture up. Those of you who missed pregame, caught in 4K. Steven, cutesy legs, confirm or deny? That is you in a very fashionable Chicago Bulls jacket when you were a kid.
That looks like me.
True or false? You're on the stand.
That looks like
You're
me.
Sworn in.
I know who those two people at the top are.
Okay, and you know who it is at the bottom as well.
That looks like me.
It's definitely you. You cute kid. Look at the smile. Look at you. You love the Chicago Bulls. Look how I've never seen you that happy.
Nah, I've been smiling like that since I was that age and younger than that, to be honest.
Listen, I'm just giving Steven a little hate. Shout out where I got that picture. If you know, you know. Stay gold.
Always up to
199.
something.
Always up to
I swear she
something.
is.
Also, Sports Hero in the chat. I appreciate you. That was a wild roast, but that was funny. Stay gold with a 199 super chat says Stars foul bait less with numerous point of attack defenders.
It depends on who the officials are.
Luka sees a point of attack defender and says, I'm going to foul bait more.
Exactly. And the whistle is going to align directly with it. That's the issue more than anything. But to his credit, you say what you want about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, say what you want about Jason Tatum. Foul baiting is a skill. You have to be to a certain level to actually even get those calls in the first place to begin with. And then you have to be strategic and when you use it to not allow for it to result in turnover. So it's them trying to counter these elite level defenders because they make their jobs hard. So if you want to play physical, we're going to see how much the referees allow for it to be, and we're going to throw the rotations of their opponents off by putting them in compromise. So it's definitely chess.
Definitely.
So you have to, for as much as it might not be the most optically pleasing style of play, players like James Harden, et cetera, you also have to respect it because it's very much a part of the game now.
Okay, we got a next one from Chris.
Yeah, what do you say?
Nothing. And then, he got roasted in the chat. That's your boy. Get your boy.
Did he say
no,
something?
He didn't say anything afterwards. He just said that
Chris,
he forgot.
Chris, you're not new to this, man. You know, if you send a super chat, which we appreciate, you got to let us know what your message is. So don't send another super chat. Just put in the chat what your message was going to be, but we appreciate you anyway.
Remember, guys, Gerald's going to be sending in sound. He'll be jumping on here in just a couple of minutes. We have another one from Be Calm.
All right. Did we hide the kids from Drake Giddey? Boom.
Just going to let that one. Let's let that one just sit. Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. Melissa with a $4.99 super chat says, shout out Steven and Eric, oh, that's us, for providing valuable and entertaining content always. And shout out the BC, I think it's probably the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Chat is a vibe most of the time.
Shout out you, Melissa.
Side-eyeing some of you. Well, most of you. Pretty much all of you are a vibe. And we're going to keep this vibe going. We have a look at the Western Conference standings. We're going to have a little bit of sound, and we'll have Gerald call in. And we'll have all of that right after our final break. None of us hit our bets tonight, but maybe you can hit your bets for March Madness. That's coming up tomorrow. Again, I'll be on a 24-hour stream. I'll be placing some bets over at Bet365. You can follow along with me as well. Plus, guess what? If you're betting on the NBA because you're just an NBA fan, they have an early payout offer. If you bet on a team for money line and they go up 20 at any point in the game, guess what? You get your payout. You get your money like you already won. Even if your team blows the lead, you don't blow your savings with the NBA early payout offer. Plus, breaking news from Bet365. New customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use code PHNX365, deposit $10, place a $5 bet to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling addiction and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT-STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Steven, do you like saving money?
Of course.
Do you like being able to keep your money where you can see it?
Absolutely.
Well, unfortunately, Steven, traditional big wireless carriers also seem to like keeping our money too. And I'm fed up with it. And if you're fed up with your huge wireless bills, well, those bogus fees are weighing you down, all those free perks that actually cost more in the long run. It's time to switch to Mint Mobile. Say bye-bye to your overpriced, jaw-dropping wireless plan. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/sons. That's mintmobile.com/sons. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month, 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees are extra. See mintmobile.com for details. Appreciate every single one of you hanging out with us late into the night. Gerald will be joining us in just a couple of minutes. We'll have some sound from Devin Booker. We're going to hear from him about his crazy step back three off of the backboard. We're also going to hear from him on what's shifted for the Suns recently and where it's come from. I know that we stand on defense is where that's shifting from, but is there anything on the offensive process, Steven, that you've noticed has changed as well?
They've been using Devin Booker in a little bit more movement over the last couple of games in terms of getting him touches off the ball where he's moving into a touch. That way he's not just coming in and going against the defense that's already set. And I think those touches in particular are helping to break up the kind of arduous approach of bringing it up the court. Defense is already loaded in gaps waiting on me. Making him a moving target helps to kind of just ease that burden for him in terms of creating not just for others, but also for himself. It's much easier to get a paint touch when you have an advantage of movement versus when you have to create your own movement versus the defense that's already waiting for you and trying to take things away. So I've been enjoying that part of their offensive process. We've seen Kevin Durant using some of those similar actions a little bit more, not necessarily to the extent that I would like to see, but they're starting to get there. And then the other big thing for me is the way that the ball is moving. It feels like there's a trust in the pass that it hasn't necessarily been there in a sustained manner over the last handful of games. And that naturally breeds success for this team when we see them get that total number of passes, even if it isn't always a direct assist. Those passing count numbers always matter for them.
Absolutely. Well, that's what you think is shifted or what you know, because I know it's not just what you think.
That's what I've been seeing, yeah,
what
sure.
you know. This is what Devin Booker said post-game on what's shifted in the Suns recently and where it stems from.
Just being connected, on the defensive side of the ball, and, once you're getting stops and not taking the ball out the net every time and having to run something every time down, I think everybody just gets in a better flow and rhythm.
Nick? Bill, can you put your finger on where that connection kind of appears from?
I mean, it's more than one thing. But, you know, I'm always going to say it goes back to just talking to each other, as simple as it sounds. But, you know, everybody being engaged, even the guys that aren't involved. Obviously throwing Ryan and Oso in there, they bring a lot of that too. So, you know, Colin also. So, you know, Cody, like, you know, everybody that, you know, has been getting in the game has, you know, been talking not only on the court but in the huddles. And, you know, it's something that we need to continue to do when, you know, we're not up 15 or 20 points, you know, being down 10 points in the games when you need it more than ever.
Yeah, we mentioned that in the pregame. Have fun playing defense and allow for your defense to set the table for your offense. Devin Booker is speaking directly to that. And they've definitely done a whole lot more of that over the last handful of games. And it's greatly benefited their offense to where they're not always playing in the half court. They can kind of connect sides of the basketball. It's when they've been at their best for the most part this season.
And he's also mentioned that they need to be able to do that, not just when they're up, but when they're down as well. But the fact that they've been up and they've been able to play with a lead, it is a lot more exhausting to play from behind than it is to play from ahead. You know, because not that you're putting in less effort, but mentally you're always scrambling, especially when on the defensive end, you know that, hey, I'm sorry, that comment just threw me off. You know, when it throws Steven off, like Steven is unflappable, okay?
For the most part.
This guy is a stone cold killer. And so when he laughs and I haven't looked at the chat yet, I'm like, something's up. And then I like side-eye it a little bit, and I'm like, oh, yep. They're just talking about.
We got a couple of main culprits. Hello, Dan, of the elite in that group of people in the chat.
For sure. Well, this is also Devin Booker talking about that ridiculous sidestep, deep bank shot three.
Well, can you walk me through that step back three you hit off the backboard there?
Yeah, just don't miss short. That's all I was telling myself. Wasn't trying to glass it, but, you know, we'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could have told you that.
Yeah, you kind of
expected. I mean, I don't know what I expected, honestly.
You kind of build your luck up with those shots, though, when you get into a scoring rhythm.
You could tell. Like, sometimes with those shots, like, they shoot it and you're like, yeah, no chance. It surprises you. And sometimes you're like, oh, no, that's cash.
And it's funny you said that because the one that surprised me was the one that Ryan Dunn made from almost the exact same spot.
He's been hitting some pretty clutch threes, man.
That one was on a move and he was leaning, though. I was like, I don't know.
He kind of did that a little bit in the last game, though. When
he wasn't off balance like that, though.
Not like that, but he was on the move. He relocated the corner in the last game because I remember I think the Suns clipped it and I tweeted it because Gillespie hit him with like a lefty pass in the corner. It was at the buzzer. It's funny because EJ's like, Gillespie's got to look at the rim here. And then Gillespie delivers a dime to Dunn. And Dunn's kind of fading a little bit to that right corner, and he shot it. Man, he also missed that three where he the little sauce on that one beforehand. But I love his fearlessness in the shooting, and I love that it's not just, hey, I'm spotting up here and I'm waiting for my shot. Dunn is clearly trying to work on being a better creator when it comes to shooting, and it won't always result in the best result now. But going forward, getting those reps and also the fact that it looks smooth and it looks good from a guy who nobody thought was going to be able to do anything offensively this year is just such a beautiful thing to see as a Suns fan.
Yeah, he's playing with confidence. That confidence comes from being given consistent minutes. He's gotten comfortable again, got comfortable quickly, and he hasn't hesitated with any of the touches that he's gotten the opportunity at from deep. And I think that's the big thing. He can't get to where he's making a solid 35, 36% on 6 or 7 attempts potentially without going through these missing stretches and being able to go 2 for 9, but taking his best shot every time he is taking that shot and shooting it with confidence regardless of if he made or missed the first one or the first 2 or 3 before the actual make came.
I know I've said this before. I'm just so glad that his benching and the lack of his role over the last couple of months hasn't calmed any of that down. Obviously, when he was getting little 20-second stints, 2-minute, 3-minute stints, you're not going to be able to, you know, be comfortable and confident. But now that his leash has gotten a little bit longer, I've really appreciated the fact that mentally he is just locked in.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Well, the Suns did move into the play-in tonight. Maybe we buried the lead. The Mavericks lost a wild loss to the Pacers. I mean, one of those losses that if Mavs fans weren't already numb to the pain, they have to be numb now. But the Suns are now tied with the Mavericks because they were a full game behind going into tonight. Mavs lose, Suns win. Now they're tied for that 10th seed. And the Suns do have the tiebreaker with the Mavericks, and they will own the tiebreaker with the Mavericks. Steven, is this the last time that we talk about the Suns moving into the play-in? And now we talk about where in the play-in they're going to end up.
I can't affirmatively answer that.
I need answers.
I wish I could. We'll see.
Now.
We'll see. Because the way that their schedule is set up, they have to play to a certain level. And even past all of that, they have to not get in their own way, as we continue to speak to.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at these playoff/play-in standings, of course, presented by our friends over at All Pro Shade Concepts. We're going to start at the top, and we will work our way to the bottom. Oklahoma City, who, by the way, has already clinched a playoff spot. Surprise, surprise, 57-12 on the season. Disgusting. I remember when I had a team that was that good. Didn't really end up that great, though. Thunder in the 1st seed, Rockets in the 2nd seed, Lakers, I think after tonight, are in the 3rd seed, Denver in the 4th, Memphis in the 5th, Warriors in the 6th, Clippers in the 7th, Minnesota in the 8th, Sacramento in the 9th, and Phoenix in the 10th seed. Now, Phoenix in the 10th seed, they are 3 full games behind Sacramento, who did pick up a win tonight. Sacramento now 2 games above 500. The Mavericks continue to free fall. They're injured. Who knows if AD is going to come back? They're finding miraculous ways to lose games. So now my sights are set on the Kings. So you do have one more game against, and it's your last game of the season, Steven. It might come down to 9th or 10th seed, that final game.
Which naturally might be coming down to who's the matchup in the play-in.
Right.
For the Suns and the Kings as far as that goes, too. So
because Clippers and Timberwolves are tied right now. So those two are also going to be battling for position.
And right on the heels of the 6th seed and the Golden State Warriors.
Only just one game behind for those 3. So anything is on the table. Let's just play a hypothetical game here. If the Suns do stay in the 10th or the 9th seed and they go into the play-in, who is the opponent you would like to see the least? The Clippers, the Timberwolves, or the Warriors?
I think that answers itself, or the question answers itself. Minnesota is not the team that the Suns want to see.
Minnesota,
for obvious reasons.
I think for historic reasons, absolutely. I think Golden State's a better team
than Minnesota
right now. And I know Minnesota's been playing. I know Minnesota's been playing really well as of late.
I don't see Golden State being in the play-in. I think they get the 6th seed.
That's fair.
That's the mindset that I'm kind of looking at it.
That's fair. So then clearly
Clippers,
you'd rather play the Clippers than
yes.
But you have playoff history with both of those. Obviously, one successful, one not successful. Those are going to be 2 really well coached teams, and those are teams where you're going to look at them and they're the Suns in a 1-game series against those. Obviously, they'd have to win that, and then they'd have to beat the Kings, and then they would have to go and they would have to beat whoever loses the Clippers and the Timberwolves series. It's going to be a tough test either way. The Kings also not a walk in the park for this team either.
Not a walk in the park. The Kings aren't, but at the same time, I still think that especially with them not having a point guard now, and having to rely on Malik Monk to play more point guard for obviously even more so than Malik, be DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine doing a lot of that. If Sabonis is not in the lineup, which he won't be for the next week or so with another injury, I think the Suns can go and get Sacramento.
I think so. I think if they played Sacramento in a one game play-in setting, I would take them to win. Even
if they are on the road.
Right. And even with the way this team has been playing, I still would feel confident in that.
Yeah.
Still, the loser of Clippers Minnesota is tough. Chat saying that even between Minnesota and Golden State, they'd rather play Golden State. They feel like the Suns match up better against Golden State. I just don't know about when you drop Jimmy Butler into that equation, if you still match up better. But I think it would be fascinating whoever they play. If you are watching on TV, we do appreciate you deeply and greatly, just as much as our audio and YouTube viewers. The party always continues over at gophnx.com. Before we hear from Kevin Durant on what's encouraged him the most over the last 2 games, I want to remind everybody we are doing a 24-hour stream, and by we, I mean me and our PHNX Sun Devils crew are doing a 24-hour stream for March Madness starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow to 9 a.m. the next day, which means that the rest of the Suns crew is going to have you covered for a daytime show tomorrow, and then they're also going to have you covered on Friday night. So a little housekeeping. I'll be off, Suns, the next 2 days, but you can get more than enough of me for a 24-hour stream. Come pop in at 3 a.m. Pop in at 11 o'clock at night. Hang out with us and watch a little March Madness ball. Before we get to Gerald, let's hear from Kevin Durant on what's encouraged him the most over the last 2 games.
Encouraged you most over these last 2 games?
That we won. We've seen some lineups that may work, especially the start of the second quarter, start of the fourth quarter. That's been our Achilles heel weeks leading up into that last game. Been tough second, fourth quarters, but coach found a nice lineup, found a nice style of play, and see if we could build on that going forward.
Well, we just heard from Kevin Durant. Now let's hear from the guy who got that video of Kevin Durant. Get ready.
In the darkness, beyond the light, there shall only be one. Welcome,
That's right. That's right. Get ready for some girth. Of course, From the Home Court is presented by the Carol Royse Team. Your home sold guaranteed realty, where Carol will guarantee to sell your home for 100% of the market value, or she's going to pay you the difference. Learn more at carolroyseteam.com. Gerald, you are the first person who ever brought up the fact that the Suns had not won 2 games in a row since late January. So I need to hear how you're feeling now that the curse has finally been lifted.
It feels very necessary. Obviously, it feels good. They asked Devin Booker whether it felt like the Suns hadn't won back-to-back games, and he said, yep, felt like every bit of it. These guys were all aware of that fun little not-so-fun fact. But no, it was good. It was also needed, looking at the competition between the Raptors and the Bulls, 2 teams that the Suns you would ordinarily expect to beat, but the way this season has gone, that's been anything but guaranteed. So it was good to see them not only build some momentum, but do it by playing a lot of the players that we've been kind of advocating for weeks now, in terms of the rookies, in terms of Cody Martin being able to come in and have an impact, in terms of Colin Gillespie just going out there and being an upgrade at the point guard spot simply by trying on the defensive end. So those were all validating to see, but you also have to bear in mind the level of competition you're facing. So it was good to build a little bit of momentum heading into this gauntlet that they have coming up, obviously with the Cavs in town on Friday. Then you've got Milwaukee after a couple of days. They really got to win as many of these games as they possibly can, because they are in the 10th spot for now. I don't think Dallas is going to be an issue. I think they'll continue to kind of implode, especially I don't know why Anthony Davis would come back at this point in the season. But if he does, that can throw a wrench into things. In Portland, they have a tough 7 games coming up or so, 6 or 7 games. And then after that, their schedule is very easy. So the Suns need to take care of business so they're not looking over their shoulder. And it was good they were able to do that against teams that you would kind of hope prepare them for this upcoming stretch.
Gerald, I have a very, very serious question for you. And I just need you to not think too much, just answer it. You got like a 3-second shot clock.
Okay.
Mason Plumlee reverse dunks or Nick Richards scoop layups?
The scoop layups are my new favorite now, because this man is going down the lane against Vooch every time like he's Michael Jordan in the 91 finals, just switching hands and scooping layups. Like it was great. It was fun. It's not really something I saw that often in his scouting report, but it's my new favorite until Mason Plumlee comes back and makes a reverse dunk. It's been a while since we've had one of those.
Is Ryan Dunn the next coming of Kawhi, or maybe better?
I would say Jesus, but I think you're close with Kawhi. You're probably closer. No, I like that step back 3 that he hit felt like it was from the heavens. That was impressive. He had another crossover step back in the mid range that he missed in the first half. But these are things that I'm keeping an eye on, because it's crazy that dude was in the doghouse for weeks and weeks, and we're seeing the immediate impact, when he just plays minutes. Obviously, it's not going to show as obviously as we've seen lately on the nights when he's not hitting shots or when he's not getting double-digit points, but that's 4 straight games of at least, I think, 12 or 13 points. And when you throw that in with the defense, with the confidence when he does get minutes, it's crazy that he wasn't playing. And it's also kind of fun to think about what he's going to be able to do years down the line as he continues to get heavy minutes and build on that confidence, because the Suns aren't going to expect him to be an offensive hub anytime soon, especially as long as Devin Booker is here. But him being able to knock down some of those shots off the dribble or even free himself up for some of those shots, even when they don't fall, that's really encouraging for a rookie who coming into this draft was billed as fantastic defender. We don't know if he's going to be able to do anything offensively. So far, we're getting signs that this kid is going to be able to do a lot more than we gave him credit for on that end.
Gerald, we always speak to the value that point of attack defenders have if you're trying to be a successful team in any capacity. And you need more than just one person to kind of play that role for you. So naturally, transition from Ryan Dunn and talk about the newest blue collar boy, Cody Martin. Were there any conversations about his efforts and the way he's kind of started to carve out his own niche amongst the group since he came back to the rotation?
Not in this post game, but it has been something that's come up. And Kevin Durant and Devin Booker have made it very clear that what has helped change the energy around here and change some of the results is the defensive side of the ball. The fact that the Suns are able to lean into switching a little bit more when Oso's on the court, obviously, but then when they have defensive-minded wings like Ryan Dunn and Cody Martin playing out there, it feels like something has shifted. I had tweeted this out yesterday, I think, but over the last 4 games and probably now 5, the Suns have been a top 10 defense with Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro getting rotational minutes. So it's pretty obvious the impact that they're having there. And one of my favorite sentences that I heard tonight was the PA announcer said, and now checking back into the game for Cody Martin, Ryan Dunn, because to be able to bring one of those guys out and bring the other one right back in, like this was what I was hoping to see. They're leaning into defense. They're leaning into guys who actually try and not just try, but can create turnovers. We saw them win the points off turnovers battle 23-10, and that's happened a couple of times in this stretch when we know all season they have been dominated in that category. So it's really nice to see that, and it's nice to see that they can substitute one point of attack defender with the starters for another guy coming in off the bench who's already making an impact in his first week on the job.
Last one before we let you go, Gerald. Any final thoughts on this win, or is it just on to the next?
For me, it's on to the next. I want to see them actually build on this. We saw them build on the last win by actually getting back-to-back wins for the first time in almost 2 months. Now we need to see it against good competition. Like we keep talking about how the rookies and Cody Martin and Colin Gillespie and all these guys have quote-unquote saved the season, but just making the play-in isn't going to be enough. Like that's not what this team's expectations were. And trust me, I'm not sitting here saying that we should change our expectations by any means. But I do think like now you have to build on this formula against teams that actually matter in the postseason conversation. You start doing that, maybe I can see a little bit more of a light at the end of this very, very long and dark tunnel. But for the time being, you got to prove that you can do this against better competition as well.
So I'll see you at the parade, Gerald. I'll be out there with you. Okay. If you need a little bit more Gerald in your life tonight, he did write 3 things the Suns must evaluate over the next week after the latest Bradley Beal injury. That, of course, is up at gophnx.com. Unlocked and free for all non-diehards. But, of course, you can become a diehard and get even more of Gerald's work. Plus, you can follow him on socials at Gerald Bourguet. Thanks, Gerald.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, couple more super chats. Let's wrap things up because I got a 24-hour stream to get ready for. Russell with a $1 super chat followed it up by saying, "Hi, Eric and Steven. Nice to meet you."
Eric? Wait, who said it?
Russell did.
Oh, Russell. I couldn't see
He
it.
followed
Russell.
up after that because
Okay.
the super
I was
chat
like, wait,
didn't
where
have
are
any
you reading
text.
this at? Okay, yeah, okay.
Hi.
From Ben Bryce. Ben sent us a $5 super chat. "I'm a lifelong Suns fan. Living in DC, it's hard to stay up late to watch these games or to watch games. But wins like this make it hella worth it! Exclamation mark. Love the show! Exclamation mark. all caps, sexy sacks.
Yeah, I need a little more stank on you saying that sexy sacks.
You got it then. Go ahead.
Aw, you're so lame. Come on, dude. Come on. We appreciate you, Ben. Appreciate you, Ben. Appreciate all the East Coast listeners, the overseas listeners, the Midwest listeners who we're going to get to here in a second. First, we got Rob, 499 says, when the Cavs blow the Suns out, can we stop this? We don't need the Beal BS. Y'all acting like we beat the Celtics and Cavs. I think it's a good test, man. I think it's a good test. I'm open to changing my mind, and I understand the other side of it. Steven obviously is on the other side of it, but it's a very divisive topic. I appreciate your perspective and all the perspectives on Bradley Beal. We'll see. We'll see. This next one's for you, Steven.
Joshua Cosner sent us a $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Joshua. He says to me, don't listen to them. I still have my child-sized Black Robin 91 jersey in my closet next to my orange Stoudemire. Hashtag Midwest Kid.
Hashtag Midwest Kid. Hashtag Bulls fans for life. BFFL. Buffle. That's you. The head of the Buffle fan club.
Weirdly enough, I have a Stoudemire jersey and a Rodman shirt.
Really?
Yeah.
You're an interesting guy, Noah.
I was about to say, is that surprising though? Noah has the most random things.
He does have some random stuff. Well, Noah, it's your time to shine.
All right, $2 from Be Calm, See Clearly. I just want to be in the shower with the Suns. Hot emoji. WET. Wet.
Well, it's time for the END of this show. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. A beautiful win, back-to-back wins for the first time since January. I don't know if you guys heard that one before, but it is true. Of course, PHNX Suns will return tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. for a live show. Of course, I will not be on that one. Again, I'll be on my 24-hour stream. Tap in, talk some ball, hang out with me and Totri. It's going to be a great time. Make sure you come hang out with us. But, of course, check in tomorrow at 3 p.m. to make sure that you are catching all the latest Suns talk. Then, of course, the boys will be back, not me, but Espo will be back on Friday talking Suns hoop against the Cavaliers. It's a mortgage beef bowl. Espo said it was so important he had to get there. Oh, man. I rambled for too long. Be calm at the buzzer. Yeah.
Another $2.
Do you want to read this one?
I don't have a gag reflex, Booker, so what's up? Heart emoji. Hot
Apologies
emoji.
to all the parents who listen to the show with their kids. We appreciate you and hope you're not having an uncomfortable conversation right now. B said, we're on a winning streak. What did you expect? That I'm gone. Appreciate Corey, Mirage, Tony, Optical Illusion, Bees, Melissa, everybody holding it down in the chat. Man, we appreciate all of you so much. Make sure you follow us at PHNX_Suns. We're always live tweeting during the games, keeping you up to date with the latest Suns content on Instagram and on Twitter. I will not call it the new name, but you can follow me on the new name. Not just kidding. You can follow me on Twitter at ERIKRUBY. You can follow Cutie Legs at StephenPG3. And we thank Noah behind the Mac, making all the magic happen. Let's just end this. Let's just show the picture one more time. Just one last time. When the Phoenix Suns beat the Chicago Bulls, they're breaking this little guy's heart. Oh, we have something else? Oh, but you know what? He's going to be okay. Booger Boy, the debut EP dropping soon. Maybe tomorrow. We'll talk to you guys then.
We all silly like the mayor.